How do societies make progress? So I think the history of progress in society can really be understood as the history of how we've thought about human potential. And in reality, it's been a fight between two very different views of human potential. On the one hand, there's a control view, which is rooted in a deep skepticism of human beings. It believes that most people are not capable. Very few people have something to offer. Then the aim becomes, we only make progress when we allow a small group to make the decisions for everybody else. There are others who have always held that that narrow view is wrong, and that in fact, human potential is broadly distributed, that we all have dignity and worth, and that every individual has something to contribute. But this empowerment view, as encouraging as it is, was never the dominant view in history. The narrow, sort of dark view of humanity has won out. From Roman times to the Dark Ages to the Renaissance, the typical person has just struggled to survive. Perhaps the most important watershed moment in this fight between this narrow view of human potential and this more expansive, inclusive one comes in 1776. It is the Declaration of Independence. In its simplest form, what the Declaration was an incredible bet on people, that every individual has something to contribute to actually make progress in ways that are beneficial for us individually and that allow us all to rise together. Not only was that true, that it was worth making the foundation for an entire country. That's the American experiment. But look, the tragedy in all this was that from the beginning, these principles were not evenly applied in practice. Right out of the gates, we excluded African Americans, Native Americans, women. It was really about white, land-owning men. But our history has been one of a steady march of expanding who we mean by we, making a bigger and bigger bet on more and more people. Whether it's the abolition of slavery, the inclusion of women in terms of voting rights and full participation, the civil rights movement, or the increasing welcoming of more and more immigrants from the far reaches of the world. In each case, a few brave souls, against long odds and often at great personal risk to themselves, had the moral courage to act. Everything that we hold the most dear, the things we point to with pride as progress, have come as a result of that expansion of the we. The more people that are included, the greater diversity of ideas, the more likely it is that you get breakthrough innovations and true progress. We could name over and over again the hundreds upon thousands of stories in this country of individuals who would have been written off before, but instead, because we bet on them, we were all better off. There is no doubt that this great experiment has yielded incredible dividends by any measure, whether we are talking about economic prosperity, longevity, incredible opportunity. And we owe that progress to that core, fundamental belief that every person has something to contribute. We're at an inflection point in our society. We face incredible challenges today. In times of uncertainty, it's natural to gravitate toward people who make promises that if only you give them control, they can make this uncertainty go away. But this is all wrong. The history of our country proves that it is not true. This idea of stand together, the name of who we are, it is the verbal recommitment to the idea that progress comes when we invest in every individual and allow them to realize their full potential and make their greatest contribution. If everybody has something to offer, then let's bet on them. We have an opportunity to carry on the legacy of those brave men and women throughout our history who have had the moral courage to continue this great American experiment.